Today I want to share some helpful doctor-recommended tips for dealing with performance anxiety as a musician. Your heart's racing, your hands are shaking, you're sweating, you can't breathe, you've got tunnel vision and you can't think straight. There's a pit in your stomach and you feel like you're going to throw up, and the last thing you want to do is go up on stage and perform. These are all symptoms of performance anxiety or stage fright, the jitters, the butterflies, cold feet, whatever you want to call them. I've struggled with this my whole life, and research shows that it affects like 70% of us musicians. It can be crippling and even ruin careers if it stops us from performing live, which is so vital to musicians. But what is performance anxiety, and most importantly, how can we overcome it? For this video, I sat down with my good friend, Dr. Matt Woolley, to get some proven strategies to help us deal with performance anxiety. Dr. Matt is a clinical psychologist, professor, and podcaster, and has worked with professional athletes and musicians to help them overcome performance anxiety. And he shared a list of strategies to help us out. Let's start by talking about what performance anxiety is. Like, what's happening to us? When humans sense some sort of threat, our brains and bodies kick into gear to prepare to respond to that threat. And the symptoms that I mentioned earlier are all potential responses. So as performers, we're not really being chased by anyone or facing any life-threatening situations while we're on stage, hopefully. So why do we respond like we are? Dr. Matt explained that performance anxiety often stems from perceived emotional threats rather than physical ones. And these can include things like worrying about what could go wrong, fearing mistakes or judgment, feeling pressure to be perfect, being overly concerned about your appearance, and engaging in negative self-talk like, I can't do this. But here's the good thing. We can overcome this. Dr. Matt says that we can reduce these symptoms quickly, sometimes in a matter of seconds. So how do we do this? Dr. Matt suggests starting with the body first and then our thoughts. If we can decrease our physical symptoms like our fight or flight response, then our brains can start thinking clearly again. Here are his tips for dealing with performance anxiety. Box breathing. This simple exercise is 4 counts of breathing in, 4 counts of holding your breath, 4 counts of exhaling, and 4 counts of resting before you take your next breath. It's like hitting the reset button on your nervous system. Ground yourself. A great practice for this is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. To do this, simply look around and identify 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This technique brings you back to the present moment and helps you regain control. Circle of influence. Imagine and keep your focus within a 10-foot circle. This is the world that you can control and feel comfortable in. And when we practice this, we become less overwhelmed by everything that's going on in a venue or on a stage and just what's within our 10-foot circle. This helps you feel more secure and less distracted by everything around you. Reframe. Catch yourself in negative talk and reframe it. Is there a different way that I can think about this? I've done this when I've played larger shows. Instead of feeling anxious that I have to go up and perform in front of a large crowd, I try to reframe it as I get to play this huge show. And this shift in perspective can hopefully turn anxiety into excitement. Performance persona. This intervention is about getting into the performance version of yourself. Think Ziggy Stardust, the persona that David Bowie adopted in part to deal with his own performance anxiety. Or Beyonce's Sasha Fierce is another great example. You don't have to dress up, just embody the persona that's the fearless performer in you. Friendly faces. Focus on the friendly faces in the crowd. Let their positive energy influence your positive energy. Knowing that there are people rooting for you can really boost your confidence. One way that psychologists help artists with performance anxiety is through exposure therapy. It means facing what scares you, starting with something easy and working up to bigger challenges. So playing in front of audiences or at venues that you feel comfortable with, and then going up from there. You may start by playing in front of friends and family at home, and then maybe a small coffee shop, and then when you feel comfortable, moving to a small concert venue. Dr. Matt suggests writing down 5 levels, something like living room, cafe, small club, theater, medium-sized club, and going through these at your own pace. Here are a couple additional thoughts. Stage fright tends to be worse before you go on stage, and lessens or even goes away once you start performing. These exercises need to be practiced to be effective, just like your music. And the more you practice, the faster and better you'll get at managing your anxiety. And there's no threshold to seeking professional help. It's okay to ask for guidance at any point. Think of it like hiring a coach to help you improve your skills. I really hope that you find these strategies helpful and that your next performance feels more like excitement than dread. Huge shout out to Dr. Matt for sharing these tips with us. If you have any tips of your own for dealing with performance anxiety, please share them in the comments below. Thanks.